make sure my phone says something.
And we're finally live!
On the
Welcome,
right channel?
Guys. Talking Time with Caffeine. Our special guest star, Magnus MKI.
Hello! What's going on, everybody? How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Good to hear.
Oh, God, a little late because of Discord issues. But we're
It's alright, we burnt down Discord. It's all good now.
Yep. Once again, Discord has failed to meet any expectation with any significance.
Nah, that's alright. Discord can sit in its own little special corner. It has a stool.
How special?
I don't know.
Discord decided that it wasn't good enough for me, so it just straight up didn't let me join up. I tried to sign up, and then when I tried to do the what's it called, the reCAPTCHA, it's just like you are bot, and then it never let me do an account again. So,
like,
and Vandalia already got a host with 1 viewer, according to the notification.
Ah, TG. Thanks, buddy. And hello to Sparrow9612.
hey, Sparrow.
Just got home, went to Texas Roadhouse for Aunt's birthday. Sounds like a good time.
Our first topic today is The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Ah, as one of those weird goth horror-loving people, I happen to love The Nightmare Before Christmas, but I'm really confused as to why there's a sudden resurgence of it, especially without anything major about it coming out. Like, if we had a brand new Kingdom Hearts game that went right back there again at the forefront, that'd be something that I'd be like, yeah, alright, cool. Everybody's all about The Nightmare Before Christmas again. Works for me. But there just doesn't seem to be any catalyst for it, and there's so many other great, like, kid-friendly horror-themed things that have come up recently. They're actually pretty solid. And it just boggles the mind that everyone wants to go back to 1993.
Snick, you ever see that movie? I mean, I know you played that role in the game, but
Schnick?
Bueller?
whoa.
Nice.
Bueller?
what about you, Mario? You ever get to that role? You ever get to that role in that game?
Well, I did beat 2.5, or I don't know what I'm talking about. Whatever remake was called for the PS3 version of KH2, I forgot.
2.5.
It was? Okay, 2.5.
Well, yeah, right? If 1 was 1.5, then 2 was 2.5.
Okay. Well, I just get confused. 1.5, 2.5, 2.8, 3 point whatever. Anyways,
And
yeah, I beat that game. I did get past that point, and I mean, before that's all I knew about Nightmare Before Christmas. I always thought there was like a movie specifically about Halloween, and I think it had to contribute with KH1's thing. So there's that.
Right. But the funny thing is, until that game came out, I had no idea. I didn't even know that was a Disney game, Disney movie.
Really? I mean, go ahead.
So
I always
what?
I always thought that Nightmare Before Christmas was pretty well known, so it's kind of surprising.
I knew it.
Right.
Yeah, I knew it was well known, but I didn't know it was Disney.
Oh, I thought it was Tim Burton.
It is Tim Burton. But
Yeah,
he
I know
did
it is.
a project with Disney, yeah.
Yeah.
I only saw part of. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I only saw part of the movie like one time that I can recall in a math class.
Fair.
So I didn't watch the whole movie because there wasn't enough time, but from what I saw, it was alright.
One of my favorite bits of trivia about that movie is that the voice of Jack Skellington, so the main character, when he sings is Danny Elfman, okay? But for the rest of the scenes of the movie, when he's talking, it's not Danny Elfman, it's actually Chris Sarandon. And one of my favorite bits of trivia. That's audio. Fair enough. But yeah, no, it's Chris Sarandon. And if you've ever seen The Princess Bride, that was Prince Humperdinck. Or if you've ever seen Fright Night, that was Jerry, the vampire next door.
I did see Princess Bride.
Yeah. Or if you've ever seen the original Child's Play, he was the police officer that was helping them. So it's just really odd that he all of a sudden was, doing the stop motion voiceover for that, but not getting any credit because everyone just assumes the whole time it's Danny Elfman.
Well, I wonder if it has anything to do with voice acting, because I'd imagine that voice acting while acting in front of a camera is somewhat one thing, but then voice acting without doing much of the movement on camera is another.
Yeah, voice acting has always been a weird thing, especially in animation. Like Looney Tunes, there was this guy who'd always get credit for all the voices. I mean, he's a very good voice actor. Yeah. Though sometimes in the episodes it would be some other people doing it because, he'd have a sick day or something, so they'd have to recruit another guy and they wouldn't get credit. So.
I always just found it to be an interesting tidbit because if you ever see Chris Sarandon doing anything now, they usually point out that he was in Child's Play, The Princess Bride, because of the more notable ones, but they always include that he was Jack Skellington. But no one seems to know it. It's like the worst, best-kept secret.
Oh, hi, Vendetta Records.
Yes. Hello, Vendetta Records. Indeed, he was nicknamed the Man of 1,000 Voices.
Oh, I just realized I misspelled Nightmare as Night Mario. What the heck?
I mean, a little self-promotion never hurts anybody, right?
The Night Mario Before Christmas.
I have no idea how that happened. Anyways.
Speaking of which, in your opinion, is it a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie?
It's both.
Absolutely both.
Yeah.
It actually encompasses both holidays better than some holiday movies for each individual holiday, and that's saying a lot.
I actually always watch it on Halloween myself, and I always watch other Christmas stories on Christmas. Like I watch, The Christmas Story on Christmas, during Christmas time, and what other Christmas movies? Home Alone.
I mean, do you watch the best Christmas movie? Which is Die Hard?
Maybe.
Because Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and there are people who believe it's a Christmas movie, and then there's people who are wrong.
And meanwhile, Sparrow says Tim Burton's Super Mario Brothers.
Exactly, I'd play that. Like Mario Before Christmas, absolutely. It's a me, you're stealing all your presents.
Oh no.
Mario Skellington.
I mean, it's one of the skins for Odyssey.
No spoilers, because Adam hasn't completed the game.
I haven't gotten to yet because my charger for the Switch, literally mysteriously broke. I don't know how, but the part where you plug in the Switch? Well, that metal part was closed up somehow. I don't know how, and there's no way it should be because there's no possible way I can think of that someone stepped on it, and
right.
I just don't understand how it got broke. So I tried opening it up forcefully, and it didn't move at all. So I gotta spend another $30 on a charger because I tried using a Pro Controller charger, and let's just say I learned how different chargers work.
Oh, all right, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. I remember. I got a charger one time, and I found out at home years ago that the plug, the outlet thing don't fit in the plug thing, so I had to get a converter for it.
And what's going on, Hauser TV? Hope you're having a fantastic day as well.
Hey Hauser, what's your opinion on Nightmare Before Christmas? If you're hearing this,
anything you know?
Yeah. I think I was 12 or 13 when that movie came out.
I was, let me do some quick math, about 8. And I still remember to this day, because I have it. It's actually, no, it's not on this chair. I have a hoodie that was from the original run of clothing that came out when the movie came out. And my uncle had bought it for himself, but he bought it way too large, and I ended up being about a foot taller than him. So when I got older, my uncle collects things because he's weird, and he wanted all of my loose toys. And the barter that I had for that was a Punisher t-shirt, that Nightmare Before Christmas hoodie, and a statue of Gambit from the X-Men.
Gambit, that's the one. Was that the one with the card fetish in the cartoon?
That is the one who likes to carry a deck of cards because he kinetically charges things to explode, and why would you go ahead and carry around things that actually explode when you can carry 52 of them in your pocket?
It's like a Joker setup.
Exactly.
Except all the cards in the deck are Joker cards.
For him, they would all be the King of Hearts because he's a ladies' man.
Oh.
Yes, spades.
Except for the one lady he wanted in the cartoon that he could never have.
Of course. That was one of the most tragic but beloved Marvel romances, because they could never be together unless something went horribly wrong. I mean, your choices are either he dies, she loses all of her powers, or something in between. Those are your only choices. Or at least
Speaking of hearts, specifically Heartless, have you seen some of the Kingdom Hearts 3 gameplay?
Not yet.
And, there's some interesting stuff released, some pretty cool worlds. I'm not going to say what worlds, but let's just say it's pretty recent stuff, surprisingly. So
Yeah, all I know is I've seen the list of worlds. Like, a lot of them are Pixar movies now. Some of them.
No, there's only 2 that are Pixar.
Oh, hey, Schnick's back.
Yeah.
So did you see the movie first or play the game first?
For which?
Night Before Christmas, Nick.
I saw that movie when I was like a
Well, I know you did.
child.
Met Snick.
Oh, you're talking about me? I didn't really even know about the movie until I saw the back of the box of Cage 1, more or less.
Yeah, that's when I knew. Like I said, when you're gone, that's when I found out it was a Disney World, a Disney movie. Because, like, that's a Disney movie. Oh, same thing for Tron. Like, I didn't know.
Well,
Tron
I think
was a
the
Disney
thing
movie.
with Nightmare Before Christmas is because Touchstone distributed it. Touchstone is the company that Disney used back in the day. I don't know if they still use it, but they essentially used it as their front for distributing adult movies.
Yeah.
Like movies with an R rating.
Yep.
Speaking
Go ahead. Sorry.
of Tron, my actual profile is a Tron controller. Like, it was released for when the movie came out, and they did a partnership with all of the big name companies, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, and they released Tron versions of the controller. The Xbox 360 Tron controller has like the special grip. It's like really solid, and people say it's one of the best controllers ever made, but since it was, limited at the time, very few are made, and now it's kind of rare.
Hauser in chat says, tell everyone he said hi.
Hi.
I can see the chat, so hello! And I agree, Sparrow. If I remember correctly, Joker's throwing cards are razor sharp because he wanted them to be his answer to the Batarang.
Hey, freaking the Joker's Mugen character throws freaking playing cards as a projectile.
Ah, man, Mugen.
Yeah, like, it's
Good
one of
times.
the freaking craziest things. Like, sometimes I'll be into it just to see all the freaking dream battles against... It's the only freaking game where you could have Ryu from Street Fighter fighting, say, Eddie from Ed, Edd and Eddy, or something like that.
Well, I was going to say, be really careful with that one, because we already had Ryu in Smash Brothers, so some of those battles might have happened.
Yeah, well, I had to think really carefully, because Ryu's able to fight Mario in Smash Bros. He's able to fight Kyo from King of Fighters through Capcom vs. SNK. Technically, there's like this Flash game where Ryu was a guest character in friggin' a fighting game that was Family Guy versus American Dad.
Wow. There was Ryu also fights Cloud in Smash Brothers, so he's connected to Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Sora's owned by Square Enix, like the character. So there is actually a pretty big chance that he could appear in Smash 5. As companies, like the track record, usually put in characters in Smash, like Smash Brawl and Smash
I mean,
Bros.
well, Sora is playable in Super Smash Flash 2.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that companies usually put in characters to promote games. So, like, they put in Ryu to promote Street Fighter 5, and they put in Cloud to promote the Final Fantasy 7 remake, and Corrin to promote Final Fantasy. Not Final Fantasy.
That's exactly what happened with PlayStation All-Stars. Like, all the third-party characters that were in PlayStation All-Stars were just to promote a game that was coming out at the time. Like, Raiden, you had Metal Gear Rising. Heihachi was Tekken Tag Tournament 2. Big Daddy was Bioshock Infinite. And who was the fourth one? Oh, DMC Dante was promoting DMC. And then later on, the only DLC characters was Isaac Clarke to promote Dead Space 3.
I could be remembering this wrong. Wasn't there a game where either Kyrie or Nominate was a character, like some game about zombies or something like that?
Not ringing a bell.
Talking about
on
something
that.
I did.
No, it was a real game.
I know that there's these fan-made short films called Dead Fantasy, which was a crossover between Dead or Alive or Final Fantasy, and Kyrie was a character in it.
Maybe that was it.
Except we're not going to get any more of those, because last I heard, first the creator of the short films moved to Rooster Teeth, and he was working for them, and then later on he died.
It's the gentleman who made Ruby was the guy who was working on those.
Oh, Snick has issues with Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, freaking two videos of my original GTA 4 Let's Play were claimed by a party that called themselves Rooster Teeth. I don't know if they were the real thing or if it was just an imposter account. I don't know why they would want... Both times, it was because I was playing the bowling minigame.
Yeah, I don't think that would have been them.
Yeah, and the thing is, I made a video complaining about it, and eventually I had to delete the video when a bunch of angry Rooster Teeth fanboys were coming up my ass. And even then, the original GTA 4 Let's Play I don't think has held up. That's why I'm remaking it, and like, right now, I'm playing through it again and recording videos for it, and I'm also including the DLC expansions, kind of doing a complete edition kind of thing in chronological order, like what I did for Cage Recon.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because it's been like a few months to actually record that thing.
No, well, me and Mario actually recorded like 2 videos of it last weekend. You were working, of course, but hopefully soon we can get back to that, but tonight's not the night. I still have people over.
Shame.
So, speaking of that, so are we done with this topic?
Yeah, sure. What you got?
Snick, want to talk about your graduation?
Yeah, I could say how it was the ultimate freaking nightmare getting out of the parking lot. I mean, the ceremony itself is fine. For one thing, I got one of the only celebrity face-to-faces I'll ever have.
Oh, what is it?
Not anyone too famous, but Hill Harper, who starred on CSI New York and also is a kind of well-known TV actor. He was a guest speaker at my graduation.
Nice.
Wow.
So,
The closest I ever got to celebrity was when Alex Trebek was participating in my air show parade in my town.
Well, the last time I ever had a somewhat celebrity encounter was when I met one of the High School Musical kids when he was touring on Broadway during a field trip.
Which one?
Corbin Blue.
Ah.
I have been reminded that I live a very odd life as a result. I have a couple people that I now know on personal levels. Like, my voicemail for my actual phone number is recorded by the voice actor best known for Mojo Jojo in the original Powerpuff series.
What?
And various other voices.
Roger L. Jackson?
Yes, however, hold on.
I mostly know him as the voice of Ghostface.
I was about to say, since I'm a huge horror fan, he actually recorded my voicemail in the style of Ghostface.
Oh,
So-
that is amazing.
Yeah, actually, it became a great deterrent for telemarketing until we started getting the telemarketing callers that were fans of horror or knew that their other people cubicles over were. Because I'd get the call from a 1-800 number, I'd be like, all right, whatever. And then I'd get it again, I'd be like, ah, crap, this must be something useful. And then I'd answer it, and they'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. We're from blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, please don't. And they're like, listen, we'll put you on our do not call list, but we need to have your voicemail play again for my buddy that's like 2 cubicles down, because he loves Scream.
I mean, I like the Scream series myself, and in fact, I was kind of a little upset when the TV series got rid of the original mask. I'm like, this is basically Scream in name only, almost. But then I hear they're rebooting the series with Season 3, and not only are they bringing back the original mask, they're even getting Roger L. Jackson to do the voice again, or so I've heard.
I would hope. He deserves every bit of general recognition. He's a fantastic guy.
It's funny because I have a Blu-ray set that has the first 3 movies and 2 making-of documentaries. When documentary, they keep him in the shadows, like trying to hide what he looks like, almost because that's apparently a tactic they used when filming the movies. Like, they wouldn't actually let the actors meet the guy when he was doing the voice, so they would be more afraid of him.
Can I tell you a fun story from that? Because the first time I met him was actually at a horror movie convention, because I live in New Jersey, and we have a pretty big one here. And what happened is that he goes ahead and he's talking on this panel about how he's kind of worried that like his actual physical appearance would take away from the mystery of the character. And we were just like, dude, no, it's fine. We get it. What awesome stories do you have? And when they did the interviews about the documentaries, did they tell you about his way of getting to Jamie Kennedy in the second film?
I don't think they did. I think they mostly talked about the actor who played Sidney.
Okay, so here's the deal. So he was doing the phone scene in the second film, where Jamie Kennedy's walking around taunting Ghostface. Okay?
Yeah, and then eventually he gets pulled in the truck and murdered.
Right. So, you know that one part where he talks about, how do you feel about the thought of knife going ahead and scraping, metal scraping against bone? And Jamie Kennedy's face goes white. So here's the deal with that, because he did a panel at this convention. Apparently Jamie Kennedy's mom came to visit the set. And because he was shooting, he couldn't go on the set. So they stuck his mom back in the booth with Roger L. Jackson. And he's trying to get through ad-libbing to Jamie Kennedy. It's just not working. And his mother leans over and goes, talk about the feeling of metal against bone. He got into an accident on his bike when he was a kid, and one of the spokes went through and stabbed him in the leg and hit the bone, and he never forgot how that felt. So that reaction in the film is 100% genuine.
Before I go back to this next thing.
Yeah, go back to the...
Before they do that, speaking of famous people, back when I first started my YouTube career in 2009, not restarted, I revived it because I was dead for 2 years. I made a video in 2007, and I didn't make another video for 2 years.
I mean, you got better, right?
Yeah. And anyways, there was this Nickelodeon show back in the late 2000s called Nickel Brothers Band.
Did you say Schnickelodeon or Nickelodeon?
May as well be Schnickelodeon.
Anyways, and there's these girls on it, on the show. They had their own YouTube channel, and they were they had like little grill channel type thing, you know. And they were one of my very first my first 10 followers on my YouTube back when I was starting out on YouTube.
Nice.
Wait, who were among your first 10 followers?
Their names were Ali D'Ameco and Christina Reyes. They were 2 girls on Naked Brothers Band.
Oh.
They were like on the last season. They were like on it. They were like Ali D'Ameco was on the show the whole time, but Christina was like a last minute addition. The last season for the show got canceled. But yeah, they had a YouTube channel. And they were one of my first 10 YouTube subscribers back in the day at 2009.
You're gonna buy this company and rename it to Schnick like Sparrow suggested.
Oh god.
Yeah,
Well, Vandalia frequently mispronounces my name as Snick, which was a real block on Nickelodeon back in the day.
That's where I thought he got his name from. When I first met him.
Nick.
Yeah, when I first met Snick, I thought that's where he got his name. Oh, you getting yourself out to that old 90s Snick channel back in the day?
No, the username, like I said before, the username originates from a nickname my ma still calls me.
So you're done with college now. So how's that feel?
I'm happy I don't have to do freaking homework no more.
What are you going into for a living?
Well, I majored in communication, so I can do like advertising, video editing, a lot of stuff with it actually.
Okay. No, the only reason I asked is a lot of majors continue education for the rest of your life, and a lot of people miss that. Because
well, at my school at least, communication told me that that you're basically finished after your bachelor's degree.
So no Dr. Snick or Master Snick.
Communicate. Some people who go into communication go into a variety of different fields, like law. They can go in. There's law. There's a whole bunch of stuff, actually.
Yeah, you can rename your channel Dr. Snick 1990.
Schnick. Sparrow says if you become a telemarketer, you can call Magnus and annoy him.
I mean, I'm not going to answer it while I'm on the floor.
Call who and annoy him?
Me. Listen to my voicemail.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's if you become a telemarketer, Schnick. You can annoy him if you do that.
Oh, speaking of telemarketers, I think somebody said one. I was still thinking. I read an article somewhere or saw on TV that someone said, "Don't call me again." They called them again, and they sued that people. They called them.
Oh boy!
Like don't call me, but they called him anyways. Like they sued him, and he won.
Oh wow!
Speaking of graduation, how's yours going, Mario? You're graduated too, not from college, but from high school.
Well, pretty much the ceremony hasn't happened just yet. It's still happening this Wednesday, and it's finally freaking amazing to be free from the force system. Always hated it. I mean, elementary and middle school, it's like, yeah, I can see how people need that, but once it gets to high school, I just think it's a load of garbage, really. Because, I don't know why, but high school is just stupid, really. They seem to just not really do much for you in terms of beneficial education. Like, all you could really squeeze out of high school, unless you're doing something that's requiring huge, heavy amounts of math or history or whatever, then the only thing you can really get out of it is the classes that you choose, the extracurricular ones. And that's about it.
That's what college is for. You choose in college. You choose a class you want to pick. You don't force you. You either pick 4 years of math and 3 years of reading and this and that. You pick what you. I mean, you got required courses for your degree, but you pick what you want to do and what do you want to do them in.
Yeah, but my problem with that though is typically for a lot of stuff that we do nowadays, we seem to do a lot of stuff that's more towards creativity rather than industrialization. Granted, industrialization is still there, but I mean, I don't even know if you really need heavy loads of math if you're just packing up boxes. I don't really know how industrial works, so I might have just said something entirely wrong, but my whole point is that if you're getting into something that you know you're not going to require history or science for, then you should just be able to take that specific class and learn that specific skill instead of being forced to do everything else. That's what I believe.
A general knowledge base is advantageous just in overall situations. It may not be as specific as you would expect. Like you're not going to be busting out Pythagoras' theorem every day for the rest of your life if you're working in an industrial situation like you would expect. But you're going to need to know what's wrong with something, and you may have a better basis knowing, alright, I'm working with, let's say, iron, and it seems to be overheated to the point where it's bending. Well, what could do that? That type of general knowledge would be covered in both math, because you would notice that something's wrong, and both science or chemistry for the actual composition of these things. So a general basis of knowledge beyond an elementary or middle school level is usually a decent thing to have. When you speak about, industrialization and further focuses beyond that, they do have vocational tech schools where you can literally study for like hands-on welder type jobs, at least where I am. So,
well, yeah,
there are those.
Yeah,
and they start during the high school years, so they become a separate track course, similar to what you were suggesting.
But here's the big problem, though. They don't even tell you how you can apply any of the skills they teach you. All they do is just, okay, so here's our, like, let's say math. Okay, here's our unit, and this is how you do this thing. Okay, now you're going to need to know this on the test. But they never really explain to you how you can even use it in real life. And when you ask them, like, at least in my experience, when you ask them how you use this in real life, they just tell you things that are just so mediocre, like, oh, you use this at the grocery store. Like, okay, that's great and all, but is that really that big of a skill to know? I don't really feel like it is, and they don't really do a good job at showing you how, in any sense of the knowledge skill, would you even apply it in real life. And I'd say that's especially with history, because everyone says, oh, well, you need to learn history so it doesn't repeat itself. But, like, what is history going to do for you other than, being a historian? Because I never seen the point of history other than just, oh, look at all the things that happened in the past. Oh, here's all the bad things. Sad, huh? Good thing we don't deal with these kinds of things that happened. Like, okay, that's great, but what about my life? What about skills I need to know? And one other thing that I've noticed, especially this senior year I had, okay, digital photography class and a theater class, beginner classes. Literally how they start out in the year is what I call history segments, where they teach you about the history of the subject. But the thing about that, though, is that's not what I signed up for. I signed up, like, for digital photography, I signed up to know how to take pictures professionally, how to use a camera professionally, and how to use Photoshop. I didn't come up here to learn about when the first camera was made. That's not what I'm here for. Same thing for history. I'm not here to learn the history of theater. I don't want to know how, all this came to be and how theater built up to be what it is. No, that's not what I wanted to. If I wanted to know how that came to be, I would have looked it up online, not go to a school where it's just like, oh, you got to learn history about all this, and then on top of that, no, now another history segment in a theater class. No, I chose it to learn the skill, not to learn the history of the subject. That's my little rant about it. Sorry I went a little bit overboard there, but
that's fine. Voice an opinion.
I get a little bit excited sometimes.
That's totally alright. One of the few things that we can still do to this day is voice our opinion on things. It's not always right, it's not always wrong. It's just one of those things where, you feel passionately about it. I got no problem with that. When it comes down to it, though, typically where most education begins is starting from the beginning. Like, that's how they want to start you off. Yeah, you're looking to go for the trade skill. If you wanted to know the history, you would look it up online. But when that curriculum base was set up, that probably wasn't the intention. The intention was, they're coming in fresh-faced. It's a beginner course. Here's the basic information. This is how we got here. This is what you do now. Whether or not that was how long the teacher wanted to spend on it before going into the actual skills, probably wasn't up to them. I know a lot of people from when I was in high school, which was, mind you, over a decade ago.
Mine was longer.
Right.
I'm about to celebrate my 20th anniversary right now, this year.
We're closer to my 20th and my 10th now. But one of the things that went ahead and made a point to me was knowing a bunch of people now that I know from my years in high school that have become teachers, and just seeing them complain about how they want to teach something, but they have to teach something else because of the way the curriculum was built. So maybe those teachers really did just want to sit down and be like, here's how you take a photo that doesn't look like crap, and here's how you make it look even better on Photoshop. But they're required to teach you XYZ by state, pick a level. To go with what Sparrow was saying in chat about music as well, because a lot of people really didn't have much of an interest in music, like in middle school. They're just trying to expose you to stuff at that point in time. Some people don't know whether or not they can sing or play instruments at that point because they never gave it a shot. I happen to know that I sound like crap when I sing. That's why I hang out with all the goth industrial metal bands, because they use voice distortion, and if they want me to help sing their guest vocals on the stage, by all means, let me join in, because you can't tell what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but,
I took 6 years of choir from 5th to 10th grade. The only reason I quit choir is because I went to trade school, because I went to trade school because I was being bullied, and I had to leave that school.
I understand that one. I actually used to get made fun of because I was too skinny. So,
wow, that's a thing?
Yeah, no, my nickname from kindergarten through, like, 8th grade from the kids that used to bully me was Scarecrow, because I was as thin as a stick.
Mine was my stuttering and my talking skills.
Well,
mine was because I was a freaking idiot.
I mean, that can get in the way sometimes, too.
I mean, I know people bully other people for
podcast,
differences, but damn.
We have a section, half the time on this podcast, we have a section dedicated to me telling all the ridiculous stories of shit I did as a kid.
Well, I wouldn't say half, I'd say the ending portion of it, kind of.
Well, I don't have any stories today, unfortunately.
No daily... Was you have a daily college onion?
Anyways, before I respond to what you were saying, though, Magnus, was that the thing that you were trying to get your point across, or was there more that you were going to say?
I mean, that's off the top of my head. Okay. I wasn't really looking to go for a deep philosophical discussion on it. It's just my general knowledge from having friends who are teachers.
Yeah, I wanted... That's the reason I started college. Is I wanted to be a history teacher. So I love history, and I wanted to share my knowledge with other kids. But college, I sucked at college and never made it past the beginning stages of college.
That's fair.
Anyways, what I was going to say in response was, what did you mean by the basic, quote-unquote, basic knowledge when you were describing the history thing? Like, what did you mean specifically?
When I was talking about the starting point, or the basic knowledge for high school in general.
Huh? Wait, I'm sorry, I don't think I caught that.
No, when I was talking about the basic knowledge, I was talking about the general stance on high school in general with math, science, and so on and so forth, if you weren't specializing in it, because having a general knowledge base of most of those topics comes in handy. When it comes to history, I mean, it's good to know what the things that have happened in the past. If we were talking about photography and like music in general, just as topics that were there as a starting point, sometimes the core curriculum has to be taught a certain way, and the teachers really don't have a say in that. When I was referring to general knowledge, I'm saying that like there's certain things that they don't get to address typically in most middle schools that do come in handy in everyday life that they pick up in science, chemistry, physics courses, so on and so forth, that can help explain things in jobs. From your descriptions of like the ways that your teachers relayed things, you and I had very different high school curriculum encounters. I had a bunch of teachers that were more than happy to give me 50 different ways that something is going to apply to my everyday life. Like, I still remember one person accidentally went ahead and said, when are we going to ever really need to know about, you know, the properties of momentum for real life? And the teacher rattled off for like 20 minutes of actual real life scenarios that I've encountered since then, where physics of the properties of motion came into very high importance.
Hey Mario, question. Was this a problem throughout your whole high school career, or just since you moved to Phoenix?
It was a problem in high school in general. And actually, one thing I do want to point out was when I took a video... Okay, I took 2 different high schools because I had to move in 2 different states. But in Colorado, at my old high school, when I took my video class, if I remember correctly, yeah, they did cover some history things, but it wasn't like the main thing to begin with. When I started my video classes, it was like straight into the skill. Now, they were going to teach you Premiere, but they didn't start you off at Premiere. We actually, funny enough, we actually started taking photos as like the first project, and then right after that we got into Movie Maker. We practiced on Movie Maker for a bit to refine our videography / editing skills a little bit, and then we moved on to the bigger thing. When it comes to that kind of thing, I'm fine with that, because you're actually building the skill. But then when I moved to Phoenix and I took photography and theater, the history was all of a sudden a huge thing. And I'm not blaming the teachers for teaching me the history, because I understand that they're forced to, but I do still blame the system for even setting that kind of thing up in the first place. And when I'm referring to the history section, I literally mean like, okay, so history, no, not history, sorry. History, I almost said history was invented in blah blah blah. No, theater was invented in blah blah blah, and then it's just kind of like, okay, here's all the things, and then slowly going to present day instead of the actual skill.
The only thing I know about
like,
the history of theater is like, oh, they did it in the Greek days and they did it in Shakespeare days. That's all I know history, like Shakespeare and Greeks.
And I wouldn't be so upset about it if they even just told me straight up, hey, this is one of the things you're going to be learning. No, it's just like, you're going to learn the skills for photography. I don't know what their description is. I'm just making a general statement, and
but first,
that's it. But then all of a sudden, yeah, it's like you're going to be learning this, but we're not going to mention history, and they do history from the start, and I'm like, what the hell? And it's just ridiculousness, in my opinion.
That just seems like bad class descriptions, because I remember pretty vividly when I was in high school, because I took a couple. Actually, my high school experience really wasn't that bad, which a lot of people go ahead and they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. Well,
my schoolwork is that bad. I mean, besides the bullies, of course, that the teachers not doing anything about the bullies was stupid. But yeah, the actual school itself was pretty decent back in the 90s.
Actually, you just reminded me. Bad class descriptions. I had one such occurrence that happened in my old high school. I was looking through a list of classes. I see, I don't know what it was specifically called, it was like some coding class or whatever, and it's just like, coding class, you're going to be learning this program language, and it's just like, from what I read, it's like, this doesn't really look interesting to me, so I'm going to look through and see if there's something else. And then, the way they were setting it up is, at the end of the year, you had to look at the stuff that you want to do for next year, and you only had a certain amount of time to tell your counselor or whoever you're supposed to talk to, hey, this is what I want for next year. And literally what happened was, after the date to tell people what you want has already passed, on my school's little video thing that they did every Thursday, where it's like visual announcements, pretty much. No joke, they covered that one class that I thought was boring, and they straight up said you would learn how to make games, but not in the description. They didn't say anything like that, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? So I got screwed over from wanting to make a game because they didn't explain it correctly one way.
Yeah.
And, well, maybe not, they didn't explain it correctly, maybe just they explained it in a different way, and then the students that made the advertisement, well, one, made it too late, and two, explained it in a way that would appeal to high schoolers a lot more than the actual description. So
Yeah.
I guess that's a little bit debatable now that I think about it, but I was pretty upset at the time.
Yeah.
Understandably.
We talked about this in the podcast before, but Magnus, have you ever heard something? I think the classes have changed a lot since we've been in school. You ever heard something called Common Core Math?
Oh, jeez. Yep, I got to. I have a couple friends who have kids. So
and are they understanding? They understand it at all, or like what the hell is this?
So, like I mentioned before the podcast started, I did a lot of education for medical-based reasons, and going into the medical field. And I had a couple of my friends who their kids were getting Common Core Math, and they would come over to me and they'd be like, "Does this make sense to you?" And I looked through and I looked at the new way to go ahead and do math, and I'm like, so let me guess. We've added 17 additional steps to say that you want to go ahead and add these two numbers together. I mean, yeah, it makes sense, but it also gives me a migraine. So, do I understand it? I don't want to. Like, do I
it
understand
seems I
why
just barely escaped it, and even then I haven't heard of such a thing as Common Core around here, so I don't even know if they put it in.
Actually, around your state, okay.
Trying to phase it last time I checked.
Luckily,
Go ahead.
Luckily, I didn't have to do that, neither in Colorado or Phoenix, or Arizona, I meant, if I was going to name states. But yeah, didn't have to do that. But I did hear of it online one time, and I'm like, wow, I hope they banned this by now, but I didn't really realize that it was still an ongoing thing.
I'm up in the Northeast, and they were definitely using it here, at least for a while. I know there was
Where in
talk
the
about trying to phase
Northeast?
it. You know where New Jersey is?
Yeah.
There.
See,
I'm in CT.
Okay, fair enough.
See, here's the thing with me and Common Core. Obviously, like a lot of other people, I think it's just flat out useless. Because, yeah, basic math is kind of a requirement in life in general, because it's like one of the most top things you need.
But is that basic math anymore at this point?
No, it's not basic math. It's just bullshit. That's what it is. Bullshit math. All right, you want to do 2 plus 2? All right, Billy, time to get out 5 pieces of paper. Let's go. Like, no, no. It's not even that hard if you do it correctly. Common Core, I don't believe, is even close to correct. Literally, all that happened was, we need to make this harder for kids to somehow entice them to learn.
Hang on a sec.
Slightly off.
Sorry, it's just that Mario, you got me thinking of that freaking Recess episode where Gretchen's trying to avoid getting accepted into the high-class school, and then she starts intentionally answering questions wrong, and then freaking Principal Prickly comes up and you're like, what's 2 plus 2? Ooh. What, and imagine if they had to make her do like freaking Common Core math right there. She still comes up with 40.
Everyone knows 2 plus 2 is 22.
I mean, come on now. Just put the 2 with the 2. But what I was going to say is apparently it worked really well for certain demographics of people somewhere. I don't know who these people are. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what they've done to hurt us or what we've done to hurt them. But apparently Common Core math worked for them, and that's great. They can keep it, and keep it over there. And if you come up with the same answer as the same person that just wants to go ahead and add the two numbers together, that's fine. Apparently it was supposed to be a way to go ahead and help people make change better, so if that tells you what they're expecting of the next generation's job ethics...
Really? All you do
yeah.
is basically all you do is change. You count to 100. There you go.
Well, that was the whole point of Common Core originally. You break it down into the segments that will go ahead and add up to the nearest rounded 10 or 100.
Really?
That's why it took so many steps. Because
How?
you have to
Just,
break all the segmented numbers
pennies,
down.
Count pennies, let's say 53 cents. So 54 divided by that, just count to get to 100. There you go.
Right.
I don't see why it's so complicated.
But that's coming from us, who already went through math. So, clearly we held on to a little bit of that math. Like I said, supposedly it worked for someone somewhere, and I still don't know what we did to hurt those people, but I'm sorry.
Forgive us. Go away now.
Well, like I said, from what I've seen of Common Core for math, it just... Wow, dude. Like, it's stupid, really. I mean, I don't understand how kids are supposed to even learn that. Like, for a person that struggled a lot in elementary school, mainly because of autism, that to the point where I didn't even learn multiplication or division because of the fact that I was autistic. If I couldn't learn multiplication or division in elementary and had to learn it in middle school, I don't think I would have even learned basic math, generally speaking, at all, if it was the Common Core way at all. I just don't think I would have.
Neither would I don't think, at least.
I would have just flat out failed.
I think I would have suffered.
Yeah, I think, talking about education again, I think, at least when me and Magnus were in school, I think you probably got, wait, what year did you graduate high school?
I was in the 2000s.
Yeah, I was 98. Well,
so, about 3 or 4 years after you.
In my name, but anyways, I think back then it was more educational. Now it's probably more of like, oh, let's see if we'll get shot today environment.
Honestly, and I'll throw this one out there. My birthday is the day of Columbine. So when it comes down to that, it's also 420. So for the rest of you that enjoy that, holla, enjoy. But
Columbine was 420.
Columbine happened on April 20th because it's also Hitler's birthday, and that's why the Oklahoma City bombing was the same day. Trust me, I know all about the stupid history of my own birthday, because I had a birthday ruined, or 3. So...
Yeah, I just missed Columbine by 1 year. I graduated a year before Columbine happened, so I was lucky enough to miss all of the school security drama and stuff, all the New Hope stuff, all the New Hope stuff.
I got Columbine and 9/11, and like I mentioned before, I'm in New Jersey, so
I got Newtown, unfortunately. Like, seriously, after I was still in high school when Newtown happened, and let's just say, right after Newtown, high school basically became prison.
I bet.
Yeah.
Where I am in New Jersey, after school that day, a bunch of us that would all go surf together went over to the beach, and we could still see the smoke coming up from the towers on the skyline. Yeah, we're not far. It definitely affected our school and a lot of the students in our school. Like, we had friends whose parents worked in there that weren't coming home. So when it comes to that type of situation, it is a very different world from when you and I were in high school to when people like Mario were in high school now, because there's been so many events like that, and I'm not even going to call them incidents, because the second you go ahead and identify that someone did something wrong, there's glory to be taken. So these events occurred because I honestly, in my opinion, and this is entirely on me, this does not reflect any of the other members of the podcast. Any and all argumentative messages can be sent to me, so deal with that. A lot of these people that are going ahead and doing things nowadays, they have done so because they realize that they get attention. And the more attention that get put on them, there is a mindset, at least from my generation, that if you do something to leave a mark on the world, good or bad, you will be remembered forever. And you take people who feel outcast or marginalized or bullied or threatened, and you give them that mindset of, if you do something that leaves a mark on the world, you will never be forgotten. And that is true immortality to some people.
And that's
this is
why
what you're going to get.
That's why I started my YouTube channel, so I have, so I'd be remembered. Because so people remember me in the future.
Right. And
so
that's a positive way to do it.
I mean, I'll tell you this much. That's the whole reason why SJWs do their thing, because they want the freaking attention. And so, by saying this, it seems that might be the whole reason why we've seen an increase in this kind of crap. Because the perpetrators, they just want the attention, it seems. So, if we want it to go away, are you saying that they shouldn't be as well publicized? Like, essentially, once they happen, just talk about it once and then just kind of let it fade away into history?
Here's what I say about it.
Isn't that what... Sorry.
Never say shooter's name.
Never say the shooter's yeah, because we have to let it fade somehow if we need to
remember the victims,
prevent them from getting their attention.
Honor the victims.
Honor the victims instead, and not, like... It's funny, because people know, for Columbine, people know the names of the shooters more than they do the victims.
Exactly. And now, with my statement that I made before, of if you leave a mark on history, good or bad, you're remembered forever. It pretty much fits that bill. And take this from me, a guy who was very heavily involved in the goth industrial scene at a Catholic high school when Columbine happened. Okay? You've got these people that are being now associated with my style of music, my way of dressing outside of the school uniform. Alright? And then all the looks I got, even though I was the nicest freaking kid you could deal with. Like, I got sent to the principal's office once, and that was for laughing at the religion teacher when she said that the Catholics invented Halloween. So...
Oh, the All Hallow Eve thing.
Yeah, no, they're like, when the Catholics invented Halloween, and I laughed, and they're like, go to the principal's office. So I went to the principal's office, and he's like, why the hell are you here? And it's like, because I laughed when teacher's name said the Catholics invented Halloween. He's like... Go back to class and tell her to swing by so I can remind her that it's a pagan holiday. Like,
so they did. They hit you with a ruler or something, like.
Oh no, it wasn't a nun. We had like 3 nuns in the school altogether, and between Columbine and September 11th, our nuns were super nice because we had a no phones rule in school. That was back early days of cell phones.
Well, we had a no pager. We had no pager rule.
No pagers and no phones. Yeah, we
because
had both covered.
I think cell phones back then were still like in the late 90s.
See, the thing is that I had an earlier cell phone that was like a brick because I ran track. And I didn't actually have a bus that would take me back and forth to the school. I was outside of the busing district for them. So I had a cell phone to let my mother know if track practice was going to go late. And I always had it on me, so September 11th happened. And we had a kid in my classroom who his dad worked the first hour. And, like, clearly the nun that was teaching that class knew all of that. So conveniently, like, she saw we were trying to get him a phone. So she just went ahead and was like, I'm going to go ahead and check down the hallway for about 20 to 25 minutes to see if anything's going on, because, you know, we're juniors and seniors at this point. And she's like, I'll be back in 20 to 25 minutes, and just closes the door behind her. So our nuns were not the beat you over the head with a ruler variety. They were the we're human beings and understand compassion variety. Which I think said a lot about that school in general. Far more progressive than the stereotypes you get of Catholic institutions nowadays.
So Jesse, you're still in school. How's your school life? How's your classes and schools and stuff? You there? You answer us? Yeah, he's been very quiet lately.
It's my gentle dulcet tones lulling people to sleep.
I can't, even though I feel like part of me should go to bed, because I swear during my party a lot of people were breaking it down, singing, having their drinks.
What's your go-to drinking singing song?
I do not sing, and I also barely drink.
Oh, he does things. You see his Christmas videos that we made last year.
Yeah, I only did that to please Lamar here.
Yeah,
I mean, he sings, but not in the way you think, I guess.
yeah. Last December, I made plan to make a special, a 25 Days of Christmas special, where I sing a different Christmas song each day. But halfway during the month, my voice went out. I lost my voice for 3 weeks, so I couldn't do this anymore. So MarioTube here and Snick sang a few songs for me, two or three songs for me.
And funny enough, I decided to sing when I was starting to get my flu, which of course had to happen when it was getting closer and closer to Christmas. I'm like, man, I do not want to be sick while it's Christmas. Come on, body, work.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I cannot talk for 3 weeks. I could barely whisper.
That's rough.
I ended up being fine. That is until a whole lot of my family members ended up getting sick down in Florida for Christmas. Sure enough, I have to go on a plane back home with my dad and my aunt, both of whom have it, and then soon I get it.
Of course.
Yes,
But it's funny, I got the flu like twice or 3 times. Like I got the flu like twice in the year prior, so when it hit, for some reason it didn't hit as hard. Probably because the body is like, we know the drill, kill it.
Are you talking about this year versus last year?
I'm talking about I first got it in November 2016, followed by June 2017, and this happened in particular January 2018.
Okay. As someone who works in the medical industry, we had a really weird flu season this year. Like,
Yeah.
not only did the CDC vaccine be for, like, there's about 6 major strains of the flu. And every year when they do the flu vaccines, they take a guess. And they cover, like, a strain and a half. And they guess, like, the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, it would be, like, strain A and most of B being covered, and we got, like, E and F, essentially. But on top of that, because of the way the weather fluctuated up here in the Northeast, flu season lingered. Like, we had it popping up because normally the flu only really hits during a 3 to 4 month span, to the point where the hospital I work at limits visitors under the age of 14 for about 3 to 4 months, just to go ahead and limit the possibility of post-surgical patients being exposed to people with the flu. But this year, like, I think it's still a soft ban going on. Like, they're just still sitting there like, we're not sure. They can come in, but spray them first. A couple spritzes. So,
like quarantine and stuff.
no, it's just one of those, like, specifically where I work, it's post-operative knee and hip replacements. So, a lot of these people have had major blood loss, they're on heavy medications, and they're resting so that they can leave and go home or go to rehabilitation centers. And they are weak. Their body is weak, it's replenishing its blood cells, and so on and so forth. So you come in with, like, a bad cold, you derail that. Because their body's in the middle of recovering from a major surgery, and now you've added an illness. So they're super picky. Like, if it's like, oh, grandma's 12-year-old niece is coming in, and, like, you know, she's carrying a box of tissues with her, get out. Because it's not just your grandma we're worried about, it's her roommate and the people down the hall you're walking past. It's like, we'd love to give you a mask, kid, but we know you're not going to keep it on. And it's around age 15 where they're like, all right, if you're sick, here is a mask. We expect you to understand that you need to keep this on.
Yeah, I hate writing those mask things. They feel weird and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Once a year, we have to go get retrofit tested every time to make sure that we still, fit certain mask sizes to make sure that they're in stock for us. Because we also get patients that they're reverse isolation, where when they're so compromised, you don't want to go in there with the sniffles, but you still need to see them. So.
Speaking of germ stuff, it's weird to me, I guess they're germaphobe, but the people that put toilet paper on the toilet seat, they don't want to touch it.
That's so counterproductive, though, because the toilet paper is so much worse than the seat.
But then they leave it on there.
I mean, that's even worse, but yeah, no.
So I have to knock it off on the toilet paper so I can sit down.
See, my whole thing about that is they put the toilet paper down on the seat, but if you think about it this way, not everybody sat on that seat, but 90% of people reached for that toilet paper. So.
Yeah, I'm not a big germaphobe, but I still like touching some stuff. I just don't want to touch, but I don't have to.
Oh, totally understandable.
Like touching someone's butt place. Touching anyways. You know what I mean?
I
think about stuff. It's
when it comes to me in public bathrooms, I'm really picky about it, but not to a point where I put toilet paper on a toilet seat. If I'm gonna sit on the toilet, I already know that it's dirty. I mean, let's be honest, they're meant to be dirty, pretty much. But
pretty much,
dirty in the sense that there's gonna be germs on it, just like how you'd say that there's gonna be germs in your feet. Or your hands. It's just gonna happen, so people just gotta deal with it. If it's literally dirty to a point where there's, stuff that you wouldn't want to sit on it, then yeah, that's a problem. And you just not want to use it at that point.
I hit growing up in the 80s. There's a park near where I live, and they didn't have plumbing yet, so it was pretty much a hole in a sewer thing. The bathroom is the stuff falls 20 feet in the ground, plop, like a big I don't know, sewer system or hole or what. It was
an outhouse with a hole that just leads all the way to the sewers.
Yeah, it was like a park near a river park. Even
better.
You can hear a plop plop plop, just so far down. I went there, did this stuff, and ran out. And I left. You don't stay that linger in there. It stunk.
Actually,
that's fair.
I just remember when I was in the process of moving from Colorado to Arizona, which was a drive move.
I
went to this rest stop, and of course I went to the bathroom, and to my surprise, these toilets were not typical toilets. Instead of the whole usual deal with the liquid and all that, no, it was pretty much like the toilet formation, but inside it was a hole, like a literal hole that went in real far deep, and I'm just like, what the hell? It made me extremely nervous because, well, if you literally fall in the toilet, then you're probably going to be really scared at that point, and, well, you do not want to drop any items you have down that thing. You do not, it is to a point where you do not want to hold a phone over that toilet, because if that phone goes down there, you're in way worse trouble than if it falls down a toilet with liquid. Oh, God.
Well, of course. Yeah.
I don't even know how you would deal with that. Drop your phone. Who do you call for that? Are you just screwed, or, what's the protocol?
I think at that point you call your phone company and inform them that you're in a very shitty situation. Payphones still exist. And if you're at a rest stop, there's most likely a gas station where they would have the ability for you to make a phone call. There are still statutes that say, if someone's stranded on the side of the road. or at a rest stop that they have.
Well, I guess, but the problem with this one, though, was that it wasn't a gas station rest stop. No, it was just like, rest stop, here's a bathroom. I think there might have been, like, maybe a couple of vending machines. And
then on the other side around the vending machines, they definitely had phones. Because I've had to drive from New Jersey to Canada and to Ohio and down to Florida, various different places. And every rest stop I've ever found has had some means of, if you're in a bad situation there, of making a phone call. You might just not have noticed them, but they were definitely there. They might have been even stuck between the vending machines, because I've seen it that way before. And it's like, why would you put the two vending machines around the phone? Like, just put them over on the side.
Well, I mean, if there's going to be a couple vending machines, then most likely they were either a little bit separated or directly next to each other. Because, you know, if there's going to be a payphone, a lot of the time I've seen it just, like, in its own separate place. Not in between vending machines for God knows what reason that may be. I swear, whenever I see a payphone nowadays, I always think, is that just a thing that's there and it's not really connected to anything anymore because services are just not there, like they're outdated, or do they still work? Or, like, I've never tried looking out for a payphone and seeing if it still works or not, but a payphone nowadays just looks so surreal compared to the early 2000s or before that even.
Yeah. Oh man, now I want to watch the movie Hackers. Back when like a 56K modem was good.
Oh. I used to play online Final Fantasy 11 on an online modem. Like, downloading passes was terrible until the day I went to my friend's house. He had cable. I'm like, he's taking me all day to download patches. I'm like, oh, he's at his house. 45 minutes later, we're done. What do you mean we're done? I'm like, the update's done. I'm like, it took that fast? I'm like,
for a while at one of the places I was at, even in the early 2000s, I had DSL, and it was one of those things where I did some competitive online PvP for many, many years, and to the point where I actually had somebody stop by my stream the other day to yell at me about a game that has been closed for 6 years because they're still mad, apparently. And it always stung them worse to know that I was dealing with a latency.
and you still beat them?
Oh yeah, no, we still beat the living daylights out of these people. But to know that their ass was that thoroughly kicked when someone's literally sitting there, like, possibly not even loading in half of their attacks, but still getting hit with the damage. Ah, good old times.
So, are we still talking about graduation, or we moved on that subject?
If you haven't noticed, I already changed the topic to triple question mark because I was going to ask while we were talking about toilets or germs or whatever, what do we call this? But then I didn't.
Toilets. You're talking about voilet.
Inside joke.
Fair.
But no, I literally don't know what the topic should be at this point.
Yeah, I think we moved on from education. I think we're talking about education or toilets.
No, we talked about graduation, and then we talked about Columbine, and then we talked about medical stuff with masks, and then it just kind of continued on from there to public bathrums.
Yeah,
the competition really got down in the dumps.
Yeah, this is our podcast in a nutshell. We're all over the place.
Hey, that's how general conversation works. I mean,
yeah.
One topic leads to another. You don't always know where the conversation's going, but you know where it ends up.
Alright, so you guys have another topic to talk about?
I don't know, you guys. Yeah.
I can talk about how friggin' Best Buy is getting rid of their game membership, which I think is retarded.
Okay.
Go on.
So, Best Buy originally had a membership where if you spent $30 every 2 years, you would get 20% off all games. Brand new. Brand new. Including pre-orders. I don't know if it was a too good to be true kind of thing. Well, here's the thing. It originally cost $100, but then they lowered it to $30 to attract more people.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe the easier situation would have been just to raise it back to $100, because even at $100, 2 years is actually a pretty nice deal. 30 is even better. So I spent the $30 to get the membership for 2 years until 2020.
Okay.
And then I come to find today, they're cutting it. They're not accepting new members. And though supposedly they are going to at least honor the memberships of existing members, which means I will still have it until 2020. At first I didn't think it was the case, because I went to Best Buy's website and found everything back to their normal prices, whereas normally it would display the 20% discounted prices.
Okay.
But then I come to find out the discounted price won't appear until you actually add something to a cart.
Okay.
Which is stupid, because I thought it was gone.
That would be the type of information I would expect them to let you know of, but
the thing is, they have not informed subscribers of the membership yet. Literally the only way people know about it is the fact that you can't buy the membership anymore, and because of a leaked memo.
Ah. Well, my thoughts on this are pretty straightforward. So, how many people do you think, besides the people that have that membership, are actually buying games at Best Buy?
All I know is that all the people who have the membership only shop at Best Buy because of it, and they're saying that.
Yeah, something
So,
happened to me with. Sorry,
as soon as their membership is gone, they say bye bye Best Buy.
Something happened to me a little bit. Not really. At GameStop, they're like, you want to use this discount for GameStop discount? Like, membership, like, sure, whatever. And I never went to GameStop again for a whole year. Like, it's only so much a month or whatever. Magazine, like, yeah, okay, so I'll get it. And I never went back.
Yeah, I have the GameStop Power Up stuff because I used to work
Yeah,
at
I
one.
have it too, but honestly, the thing is, the reason why Best Buy is getting a lot of flack is because there is basically no reason to have gotten rid of the membership entirely. Because, thing is, a lot of people only shopped at Best Buy because of it. It was a good deal.
Right.
And it would have been one thing if they just simply raised the price, because that's almost to be expected with some things. But to cut it entirely? It just seems like there's only two reasons I've seen to dig up from the internet. One, game publishers weren't having it, and they told them to get rid of it, even though, way I see it, I would imagine Best Buy covers some of the costs themselves for subscribers. Or two, they're digging themselves in such a financial ruin to where they know the end is inevitable, so they're just getting rid of all their premium stuff to save as much money as they can before they're gone.
You know, normally... Go ahead.
How long has Best Buy been around for, like, 20 some years now?
Probably something around that. What I was going to say is, normally I would probably lean towards option A with the publishers going ahead and having a say or two and things. But after the way Toys R Us went down, I'm kind of leaning towards option B.
Yeah, because the whole thing is, if Best Buy dies, it's gradually, it seems that the market is more and more going towards a monopoly for Amazon.
Right.
And truth is, a lot of people are starting to hate Amazon because, for one thing, Prime memberships went up in price. The thing is, they created a 20% discount for game pre-orders to combat Best Buy. But for one thing, quietly in August, without telling anyone, they severely hampered what the pre-orders do. Like, for instance, special editions of games are not covered, and for a while, the discount would stay for, like, up to 2 weeks after the game's release. But now it immediately goes away on release day, from what I've heard, because I unsubscribed from Prime because I didn't get the student discount no more. But the whole thing is, a lot of people noted Amazon only made the discount to combat Best Buy, so now that Best Buy is getting rid of it, Amazon doesn't really have a reason to keep it around, so they could very well get rid of it.
Yeah, the reason I even got my Twitch Prime account is because I want something. I don't want to wait a week or two for something. I wanted something right away. Like, I want this now. I want to wait, so screw it. I'll get Prime.
You know, I picked up Amazon Prime mainly to go ahead and use it for videos and music.
I mean, I was using it for the 2-day shipping, but I kept hearing constant complaints, especially in recent days, that 2-day shipping is almost not anymore, like stuff being a day or two late.
Plus, it gives me
I
a
don't know,
free.
if so many people are getting pissed off at Amazon, I'm just wondering if the whole industry could crash, because, like, if it turns to a monopoly from Amazon and people hate Amazon, they either have to put up with it, but there might be a breaking point where they're like, fuck this, we don't want to shop at Amazon, even if it's the only thing available.
Yes, speaking of monopolies and stuff, I remember back in everyone was scared that Google was going to buy Twitch instead of, and Amazon bought them, but I was so like, oh, Google.
And now Amazon's becoming that exact same thing, looks like. Not helping matters is that the Prime benefits, another reason I didn't continue my Prime membership is because the benefits weren't all that good, aside from the 2-day shipping when it worked. There's 3 major streaming services: Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu. I'm just gonna say it. Amazon's lineup is bad. It is bad.
Do they even have an Amazon? I didn't know they didn't have an Amazon thing.
They do.
They do. Like, pretty much the only things that are kind of worth it are their original TV shows that are their own productions. But for stuff that's, like, shopped around, like, given to them, it is not good at all. Like, there is very little.
Basically, it's a weak man's Hulu for their variety other than their originals. And, like, you can, if you have Hulu and Amazon Prime, you're paying for certain things twice, pretty much. Because a lot of things overlap. But those originals are very strong.
I only have Hulu and Crunchyroll for streaming things.
2 of my favorite shows from last year, entertainment-wise, well, 2 of my top 4, I'd say, were from Amazon Originals, and that was the revival of The Tick, and Jean-Claude Van Johnson blew me away. I was not expecting anything good from it, and I laughed for hours, and my roommate and I still quote it to this day.
What's the quote?
There's too many to just do one, but there's a wonderful scene in the first episode where Jean-Claude Van Damme is playing essentially a secret. He's playing himself, but all of his movie roles are because he's a secret agent, and he's trying to infiltrate this warehouse that is shipping a new high-potency drug, and he runs into essentially someone who looks exactly like him, because it's also played by him, but under prosthetics, and they get into a conversation, and he's like, listen to me, you need to let me through, I'm just you from the future, it's okay. And he's like, if you're really me, tell me which of these 2 movies is better, Looper or Time Cop? And he's just like, well, it's Looper, it's a solid film. And for the rest of the series, this other Jean-Claude Van Damme is just blown away by this. He's like, he said he was me from the future, and Looper was better than Time Cop, but I would never believe that. Time Cop? And it's just a rant of Jean-Claude Van Damme explaining why Time Cop is a perfect film. And
I watched Time Cop.
So,
well, the thing is, Jean-Claude Van Damme is very self-aware about his career and even some of the problems he's had.
Right.
There was actually a movie called JCVD, where which was a movie where he was basically playing himself as well, and that was like meant to be a reflection on his career.
And he's caught up in a bank robbery, I remember.
I mean, compared to some other 90s action stars that didn't really star in that many hits, like, for some reason a lot of people compare Van Damme with Steven Seagal. In fact, both of them joked about fighting each other, and Seagal had a big ego about it. But then again, Seagal's career is down the dumps. All he does is direct-to-video schlop, whereas Van Damme at least has some success with the show you mentioned. He played the villain, The Expendables 2.
Yep. He hasn't alienated all of his friends, unlike Steven Seagal, who has alienated everyone.
And the thing is, all the celebrity actors that worked with him have nothing but bad things to say about him. Like freaking John Leguizamo once told a story when they were working on the movie Executive Decision, how Seagal just came in and basically gave a speech saying, "Listen, all of you work for me, I'm in charge," or something like that, and Leguizamo just laughed at him, thinking he was crazy, and Seagal responded by freaking decking him in the face or something, and he was blown back by the blow, and he was just in utter shock over it.
Yep. Now, actually, one of the games I recently played on stream, there's an entire joke. One of the characters, like her father, they're people that moved to Japan from America at one point, and her dad's literally just Steven Seagal. It's literally just Steven Seagal. And I was just sitting there the whole time, I'm like, I forgot about this inside joke. This is a good one. Because every time you see him, he's being like, you need to be a proper Japanese woman. You need to embrace karate. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, that's something Steven Seagal would yell at his daughter for.
Oh, Nick has stories about karate.
Oh boy.
Yeah, one of the earlier podcast episodes, the short version is that my dad signed me up for karate classes I didn't want to take, and
there's a video of him literally like doing half effort, like kick, like a half, like whatever kick or whatever punch, like what?
Yeah. There's whole videos of freaking middle school schnick not basically in class not giving a shit.
Good.
And I believe part of the reason was because of the people that were there.
It was partly because of the people. Like, the kids were not nice. Well, then again, I was a stupid idiot, but at the same time, that didn't justify kids completely ignored me and claiming that I was worth nothing when one of my uncles got into a pretty serious accident involving getting smacked in the head with a brick.
Oof.
He survived, thank God. In fact, he was at my party today.
Was that Uncle Wally?
No, it was my dad's brother.
Oh.
So he's in the hospital, which delayed my freaking return to the class. And when I returned to the class, I was like, "Oh, sorry I wasn't here last week, guys, as my uncle was in the hospital. Oh, he got hurt real bad." It's like basically something like that. And then one girl turns to me and she's like,
yeah, are we even listening to you?
That sounds like kids, yeah.
Yeah, like, seriously, my grandma's more or less a pacifist with people. When she heard that, like, I swear to God, she lost her shit when I told her that.
Sparrow, you are looking at my YouTube channel that I barely touch ever, because I just saw your comment there. The mask there is in fact a hockey mask with my old guild name etched into the forehead, because we took that stuff very seriously. Yeah, no problem. I rarely ever use it. I'm on Twitch most of the time. Same name.
Yeah. I've been slowly switching over from YouTube to Twitch, because I didn't really start YouTube. I mean, I had Twitch for a long time, but I didn't really start focusing on Twitch until the last few months.
That's fair.
It's funny. I got subscribed. You know, I only have one subscriber. Really, not really important, but it was much easier to get people on Twitch to subscribe to you than it was on YouTube.
I agree. Most of the content that I put out back in the day on YouTube was just RF Online videos. One of them was an entire series that was intended to go ahead and kind of mock some of the other players while at the same time going ahead and showing them how to do something. Because I helped work on the staff of a private server at one point, and we were told that nobody can do these things. They're impossible to do. So I never used any of my moderation powers to give myself anything in that game. The only advantage I had over any other player was knowledge. So I took my guild and I'm like, you know what? They're wrong. Let's record them being wrong. So we went ahead and nonchalantly did this entire dungeon. And if you actually listen to the audio of it, we weren't paying attention. Half of us had our wrong gear on in an MMO. But still, we just steamrolled through the whole thing. Recorded it, uploaded it. We were like, here's your proof on how to do it. Also, you all suck.
Like,
yeah, we were super well loved. Absolutely.
We're just that good. We're so good we can do this on crap gear.
Oh no, it was one of those great ones of like, I feel like we could kill this faster. Oh, that'd probably help if I had the right armor on. Yeah, maybe. The attack speed one, that'd be good. Nah, I'm not gonna switch. Alright, whatever.
Yeah, some people are online gaming. They're so like, they take the fun out of it sometimes.
Oh, so like you mentioned, the mask there. That was a long-running gag that whenever I would show up in videos addressing things, I would always put a mask on because it's something that's come up a lot with the topic of like bullying in gaming. But I used to get, I'd say, a death threat a week from the stuff I would do in that MMO. Because basically what it came down to was that game had a super dedicated fan base in the Philippines, in Brazil, and then like, I'd say about 3 to 4 dozen people in the US and Europe. But we were heavily outnumbered by Brazil and the Philippines. And all the English-speaking players kind of got along, and then the Brazilians really didn't like us, and then the Filipino players really didn't like us. So we all kind of banded together, and I ended up being in charge because of old, leadership qualities. They thrust me onto a spot I really didn't want it. But I took up the mantle when they asked, and I got all these people together. And all of a sudden, 22 of us could do what they took 80 people to do. And they did not appreciate that at all. So I was taking a fourth of the people that they needed to get something done and doing stuff while they're still sitting there trying to get 80 people together. We would walk past them, go do stuff, come back.
Like bye, we're back. Oh, we beat that boss for you. Bye.
There was one that it started a civil war in the server. There was a boss that specifically was built to be super tough. And they were like, you need like 3 races working together in a PvP game to beat it. And I was like, I don't think so. So I went ahead and I got like my best guys together and we just strategized. And it was on a 4-day respawn timer. It only popped once every 4 days. And it happened to be like 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So it worked out that like everybody was out of work and I was not doing classes that day. So we got over to the boss, and we set up this whole big thing. And this was before I was a staff member. This is actually why they put me on the staff. One of the GMs sees that it's just us. Specifically, everyone's wearing the same guild tag. And they realized that you could put turrets to like help you DPS things. We had mapped it out and found that a pentagram formation was exactly as close as we could get all of them so that they would all fire at the boss if we had it directly in the middle. And we had all this stuff lined up. And the GM was actively just speaking in local chat with us because they're like, alright, you have possibly enough DPS with all of your gear together, but it's going to drop you have 1 tank here. It's going to drop your tank. And it's like, we have an answer for that. He's like, I'm just going to sit and watch that. Sure. We ended up having, in a game where the race we played technically didn't have a healing class. we had a specialist class that everybody was robots, so they had grenades. And they had healing grenades, but they didn't do a lot. But 3 people using them at the same time did just fine. So we had 3 people just sitting there healing him constantly. And they would go ahead and fill his defense gauge, because your defense would wear down over time and you start taking more damage. And they just kept him in tip-top shape, while the turrets that they had put down all fired. And everyone else focused DPS. And all of a sudden I start seeing system messages of the GM just going, oh, you guys aren't going to like this. Because he's just sitting there watching us succeed. And he's not saying what's happening, but he's just pointing out, he's like, a lot of you are going to be upset.
Did you get banned or something?
No, we were fine.
Oh.
It was the fact that this was a thing that normally 100 and some odd people would go to do together, and it brought peace among the races. And we just went and did it ourselves.
I thought maybe something like you broke the game or something, like, oh...
No. That's part of the reason they brought us on staff. They're like, no one tried this. Literally, no one thought to, hey, let's just do it ourselves. You guys are the first ones that took initiative. Can I ask you to help us test things? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So, after that, we had a lot of really angry players coming after us, of all factions, including our own.
Hey, Mario, do you have any like angry Splatoon players?
Well, that's really hard to even say, because of the fact that there's pretty much no communication when it comes to randoms. I mean, you can have your own communication if you're playing with your friends, but beyond that, none. So you can't really tell whether or not there's angry players unless they do a thing called quote-unquote squid bagging, which is basically teabagging, except in Splatoon you spam the button that turns you from what they call kid to squid, and it's just like a weird animation, and it's supposed to be seen as like a teabag kind of thing. And they do it every time they kill you, because their the camera that you have goes to the person who killed you or splatted you, and then you just get a view of them squid bagging. But
that ever happened to you?
Yeah, there has been some people that have done that before, but it's somewhat difficult to tell whether or not they're mad or if they're just doing it because they are doing it as like a taunt kind of thing. You can't really tell.
You know, it's weird. I think, at least from my experience, teabagging has kind of died.
For the most part, yeah, it seems.
Yeah, because I was playing Call of Duty World War II online, and nobody has teabagged, and that's like the quintessential game that little kiddies were playing and probably trying to do it.
People, I think people still teabag you in World of Warcraft, I think.
Seriously?
Right. Well, I've always found that there's a very different demographic for competitive PvPers and MMOs to other things. Like, it was actually a discussion we were having about Battle Royale games, how, like, the old MMO PvPers don't really seem to get into the Battle Royales. And I think it's because the progression isn't permanent. Like, if you think about it, like, when you played an MMO PvP setup, you built your gear over time, you got to your level of power, then you honed your skill. Like, you committed to that role. But with, like, the Battle Royales, they drop you in, you deal with what you have. It's a very different system, and there is skill involved. But coming from such a long PvP background, and, like, seeing these matches that last, like, 14 seconds when somebody just gets wrecked, and then they just jump right back in, they get a new random setup. It doesn't do it for me, because it's like, alright, so all of your eggs are in the basket of chance. And yeah, there's skill for your aiming, but for me, like, I would much rather have a mode where you had a layout. That would probably get me interested and invested. But I see all the stuff going on with just, you get what you get with the drop, and I get it. That's exciting for some people, but for me, I'd rather see someone build themselves up. I like to watch that underdog story, that Rocky moment, as they finally climb up those stairs and you see them go after that dude that's been killing them for like 3 weeks. and all of a sudden they just turn around, that guy hits them again, and instead of just dropping, their health moves like an inch, and he stops attacking, and it's like, oh, he knows something's wrong now.
Payback, motherfucker.
Exactly. And those were the stories that I always enjoyed. And one of the things, back in the earlier Wild Wild West days of the internet, I have actually a folder with most of the printouts in my bedroom. I have a printout of all the death threats I used to get.
Oh.
Because some of them were good, and then some of them were just like, you used Google Translate. I appreciate the effort. And then some of them were just in people's native languages, but I would get under people's skin. And the reason for that was, like I mentioned, we were taking 20 people and taking on like armies of 80. And just because we knew our characters inside and out, we took the time to learn them and then build our gear and then build our playstyle. You had these people that it's like, oh yeah, that's the best PvPer on that race. And it's like, are you sure? Because I don't think he's that good. They're like, ah, what are you talking about? And then, like, our lowest level guy just goes and wrecks him, and it's like, what? It's like, yeah, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Like, yeah, sure, he has fantastic gear, but, you can fix gear, you can fix levels, you can't fix stupid. He's running around without a shield on in the middle of, like, a 15-person on each faction melee.
Like,
yeah. He's gonna get smacked by a bunch of people. They're gonna drop him real quick and move on with their day.
I don't need a shield. Like, oh, I'm dead.
I'm the big tough guy. No one's gonna bother to. Oh, they're hitting me.
It's like people that rated like a 50 level 1 attacking a level 80.
Yeah.
Eventually, he's going down. Yeah. I mean, they might get so few of them might get swatted, but eventually the numbers are going to get outrank him.
Yep. But yeah.
Speaking of games, all of us have a game that we hate. What's the one game that you hate above all? Not really hate, but dislike or hate, or like you just can't stand that game.
It's a time to pick something. Honestly, like I mentioned before, I really don't jive with battle royales overall. I picked up Fortnite for the original Save the World mode, which I thought was interesting, but it really wasn't.
Like everyone's playing Fortnite. Everyone like it's everywhere right now.
I mean, you can take a look at my channel; it sure as hell ain't there. Like I'm a horror guy, gaming, movies, all my stuff's horror. But a game that I really hate, like legitimately hate, that brings anger to me, would probably be Resident Evil 6, because you had such a chance and you just blew it so badly.
Resident Evil 6, I mean, in my personal opinion, I thought it was okay, but it was definitely one of the weaker entries in the series. Pretty much one of the only saving graces was that it allowed Chris and Leon to finally share screen time, even if it was only for like one fight scene.
Right, and then the movie that they rehashed that entire relationship on was fantastic. I don't know if you've seen that. The
Resident Evil Vendetta, which also brought
Yes.
Rebecca back after being absent. Resident Evil 0, yeah, I've seen scenes of it, but I haven't seen the entirety of it.
It's actually really good. They did a one night in theaters screening of it, and actually my roommate that I thought was going to walk through here at some point, who's also a streamer, we went and saw it. And we were sitting there like the majority of it. I'm like, alright, it seems like we have a really super serious villain here. I kind of hope that we get like that little bit of the weird, because that was always the hallmark of the good villains from the Resident Evil series that got lost along the way. If you think back to 0, 1, 2, there's the, yes, it's an imposing, menacing figure, but there's a little odd to it. Like, Albert clearly was unhinged. William Birkin, when he turned himself into the G-Virus monstrosity, was clearly unhinged. Marcus with the leeches, unhinged. The Nemesis, unhinged. You had this imposing villain that was also not right in the head. And that's what really sold it. And they still did that with 4, with the Las Plagas. But then
Sadler, I forget the guy.
Yeah, Sadler and you're talking about the little dude.
Yeah, I'm talking about the little guy. I played the HD version of 4 recently. How did I forget what his name is? Oh, is it... Hang...
Either way, while you go ahead and look that up and remember it.
Yeah, I'm looking that up.
When they went to 5, they started to lose it a little bit. Like, the secondary villains still had it, but then Wesker...
But we still had Wesker.
Right, and then Wesker went completely off the wall at the end. Like, he was starting to get too serious for himself, and then he snapped. And it's like, okay, good. So then 6, your villains were presented, and it's like, okay. And, like, Revelations 1... Revelations 2, I think, was fantastic. Revelations 1, they still kept them kind of serious, but they tried the...
Yeah, but then Revelations 2 gave us Alex Wesker, who was definitely good.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And then 2, they gave you Alex Wesker, who was unhinged again. So I went and saw this film, and I'm like, I hope they do something with this villain. And then there's one specific scene. I'm not going to ruin it for those that want to see it, but there's one specific scene between him and Rebecca about halfway through, and I'm like, okay... Alright, cool. We got a solid Resident Evil villain here. Let's go. And then they did some really awesome fight scenes with Chris and Leon both involved.
Yeah, like, if I remember correctly, I did see scenes of the final fight. Like, there was something with Leon on a motorcycle for a lot of it.
That is not the final fight.
Oh, it's not? Oh, so there's more.
No, that is not the final fight.
I mean, they definitely set it up like it was the final fight.
Yeah, they do. And then somebody pulls a William Birkin.
But,
and it's just like, I'm gonna get bigger.
Oh. Yeah, these two already know my most hated game right now. I haven't played it in a year, but even though I love the series, I hate Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep.
Okay.
Because unlike...
There we go.
I said this. Sorry, they've already heard this rant before, but
yeah, here we go again.
But in other games, you can play mini games if you want to, right? Like they're optional. You can get weapons or whatever. You can do them. You don't want to. It doesn't really matter. But in Birth by Sleep, they decide, you know what? Let's make the mini games required for the story to beat the story. And since I have no rhythm at all, I can't push a button in time. I cannot get past the ice cream level in Birth by Sleep, and then so I cannot beat the game because I can't push the button at the right time to stack ice cream.
And
so what you're telling me is you're not going to be a huge fan of the Persona 5 dancing game?
And
no.
I don't think Vandalia plays the Persona series.
Oh.
I mean, I do, but
I've been wanting to check it out. I've heard good things about it, but yeah.
But there's actually more of the story with this, though. Were you about to explain it, Vandalia? Or were you going to say something else about it?
But yeah, I've touched that game since May. I mean, I beat Aqua Story, the fruit ball volleyball thing. I beat that no problem. I beat Terra's mini game, the racing, no problem. But I cannot stack ice cream balls with anything, so I cannot get to the end game because I cannot get past that stupid level.
That's
so I can't. And then MarioTube did the first try.
Yeah, literally, Vandalia was complaining about it so much and made it seem like it was a really hard thing. And I'm like, okay, I already have 2.8, so I'm gonna see what this is about. So of course, I go play Birth by Sleep for the first time. I choose whatever character it was. I forgot the name of that had the minigame. Ventus, right.
And he tried to do level. Stop real fast. He tried to do level 1 critical run, but then he actually forgot to hit the no experience thing.
And I'm like, you know, whatever. I just want to get to this mini game. So I literally played the game in one sitting up to that mini game, and I tried it, and I think I got it either first or second try, most likely first. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I played this game for like 4 or 5 hours straight, all for this. Damn. And then I dropped 2.8, not because of that, but because I lost interest in it, and now I can't play any PS4 game because, well, long story, someone stole my charger, and I'm not really going to go in specifics because it's more personal, and I just met you, so yeah.
It's all good.
Well, two things. Number one, I looked it up. The guy's name is Salazar.
Salazar, that's the one.
Yes, I was thinking it was Salazar, but I was thinking maybe not really because it sounds too similar to Sadler.
Yeah, they were. That was actually the thing I was going to say. I remember they were very similar, and that was part of the reason that I always had a hard time keeping track of who was the villains in that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
if
well, and the second thing is, I played that minigame no less than half a dozen times across me playing the original PSP version, playing the PS3 version, I think twice, and then playing it once again on the PS4.
Yeah, I don't know if this is still true or not, but it might have changed, but last time I checked, my most hated game was Black Ops 3.
Yeah, and I called it Shit Ops 3 when I was, like, at my hatred peak. Because, okay, when I was going to get my PS4 for the first time, and I think this might have been around the time it was released, I'm not entirely sure, but it was closer to when it was released, all before the PS4 Pro stuff and PS4 Slim and all that.
Gotcha.
So, Black Ops 3 was coming out, I believe it was the year 2014, and, you know, everyone was, like, all hype about it, and I'm like, oh, well, I want to play this game, and part of my decision of wanting to was also because of the fact that friends had a PS4, I wanted a PS4, friends were playing that game, and, you know, I played a Call of Duty game before, and I thought it was alright, so why not play this one with friends? So, I get the PS4 and the game, along with Advanced Warfare, and I was playing the game for about a year, and I've noticed so many problems with Black Ops 3. Like, one of the things I really hated about it was the campaign. The story is literally so bad that, well, the story and gameplay was so bad that I just could not even get past the first mission. It was bad enough for me to not want to play the rest of the campaign after one mission, specifically because of the fact that the story, boring. I don't really find it interesting at all, and you could say, oh, well, maybe it got better later. Well, you know, maybe I would have liked to learn that by myself had the gameplay was actually interesting, because literally the game starts off with you shooting about 3 enemies, and then for the next 5 to 10 minutes you're just walking around, being able to not really do much except walk around. There's no shooting for the next 10 minutes, and you eventually, and when I mean eventually, I mean like after maybe 7 minutes or so, you get to this camera section, which is basically Black Ops 5 Nights at Freddy's, except you only press one button every so often, and then eventually, finally, there's more shooting. So pretty much half, if not most of the mission, you're just walking around. There's no way to interact with anything. There's no secrets, nothing. You just walk, and you press X a few times every so often, and that's it. I was so appalled by that gameplay that I was just done with campaign first mission. I was just so pissed off at it. Another thing I hated about it was...
Can I say something? I played Black Ops 3 myself, and the thing is, I think the Call of Duty games are good because... good for if you just want to have dumb fun, because the thing is, a lot of people criticize the games for not being complex, but the thing is, I don't think they're meant to be.
Oh.
Complex?
And, like, deep mechanics or anything like that. Like, no strategy, just go around and it's a free-for-all, more or less. Like, Battlefield, you need to coordinate squads, you need to actually work with friends. Like, there's a lot more to Battlefield's gameplay, what I'm trying to say is, but the thing is, when I played Black Ops 3's campaign, You claim you stopped after one mission. I will say I did actually beat the entire campaign, and it does get the gameplay does actually get a lot more interesting after the first mission. Story, on the other hand, isn't that good. And that's like in the sense where there was basically no reason to have called it the game Black Ops 3 because it has almost nothing to do with the first two games. And the thing is, I think Call of Duty World War II is going to be the final game in the series I buy because Black Ops 4 has even less of a reason to be called Black Ops 4 because they're not even featuring a story.
Nope.
Back to Black Ops. Yeah, but no story about that. My first mission of the game, not mission of the game, my first doing the game was when these two plus another friend of ours tried to make a campaign together, and neither one of them could join each other's campaign. Like they could not join each other's servers at all.
Oh wait, you're still talking about Black Ops 3, right?
3 or 2. Yeah, like you Brandon.
Okay, I know what you're trying to say. Basically, he's saying, well, we didn't make a campaign. We were trying to play zombies mode, and well, that's something I want to explain. But there's also other things I want to talk about. That situation entirely is like the peak. So, give me a few minutes to build up to that point, and then we'll go back to it.
No problem.
So what I was gonna say was. For the other modes, Nightmare Mode, which is actually the first mode I played, I absolutely hated it because it was so confusing that I could not understand a lick of what was going on, and
more or less because Nightmare Mode expects you to have played through the campaign.
And the retarded, the retarded thing about it is that they use characters from the campaign, but you don't have an understanding if you haven't played campaign. They don't even explain who the characters are at all, and it's so stupid because the game lets you play it when you first boot it up. So if you're required to learn stuff that's in the campaign, how about instead of letting us play Nightmare Mode first, lock it out until we either beat campaign or at least have played campaign at all, not just let us throw ourselves into unknown territory. And because of that design choice, I just didn't bother. Not to mention that the story is just, again, not really too appealing. I mean, it's a little bit more interesting than campaign, I feel, but not enough to a point where it even wants to keep me going. And I actually found one time that you could just full on break one of the missions to a point where you can't progress, so you soft lock yourself a little bit, and it's so stupid. Multiplayer mode. Multiplayer mode is probably the second most favorite mode I've played. I didn't entirely like it, but it wasn't entirely bad either, I guess. Zombies mode was my most favorite mode of them all, but it's been so long that I'm just forgetting details right now. But from what I can remember on the top of my head, it was an alright thing, like an alright mode, though some of the things about it were kind of stupid. I don't quite remember what they were. All I remember is that I hated some things. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, first map you get, retarded, because you have to do so many things that you need a guide before you can even do anything, pretty much. Like, oh, you gotta turn the monster, and then you have to go in these very specific places you wouldn't be able to find at first, so good luck. And then that's only for a pack-a-punch and opening the map. And then when it comes to other modes, or not other modes, when it comes to other maps, a lot of the maps are just kind of rinse and repeat stuff. Like, there's one map that requires you to get elemental bows, and then there's another map that requires you to get another kind of weapon that are also elemental, and they're pretty much the same elements, or at least similar. And a lot of the maps just require you to do the same thing. not to mention that there's also other elements like the big enemies. Like you have the Panzers in one map, and then you have the Margwas in the first map that pretty much do the same thing except a slight difference. There's just so many things that are the same that it's just very flawed in my opinion. So I don't really like the design choices, but if anything, it's still my best favorite mode. And then there's the underdog mode, free run. Free run, it's okay. It's not the best mode, but it's okay. And I'd say it's the most boring, surprisingly, because once you're done with all the levels, that's it. That's all you get out of it. Just free run in a few levels, and each have varying difficulty, and then you're done. You drop it. They don't have anything for DLC for it. It's just a one-and-done thing. So, not really much I can say other than boring once you're done. And, yeah, then here comes the peak. So, in 2015, I think it was 2015, I wanted to do a Halloween special where I play the game Black Ops 3 on zombie mode. However, I built up anger from a year of playing it because of all the frustrations I've had with the game, and lo and behold, after I would think a year of a problem that I've noticed where joining up with friends is very, very difficult to a point where you might even have to restart your console sometimes just to make sure that it will hopefully work. And I don't know if restarting the console even makes a difference, but, you know, precautionary. And you'd have to sometimes do this a numerous amount of times. I thought by a year, oh, they would fix it. Nope. Nah. Nope. They don't fix the problem. And, of course, the one night I wanted to play the game at all, it doesn't work. I just throw a huge fit at the game and Treyarch themselves because I was so mad that they just could not have the decency to even fix a simple problem that is very, like, in your face about it. Like, it's such an obvious thing that I don't know how it wasn't fixed after a year, and yeah. I was just done with the game at that point. Like, I fucking destroyed it, literally.
You can't team up with your friends in a game that's multiplayer. That's pretty much the...
I would love to see how Black Ops 4 is gonna go, considering that multiplayer is basically all the game is gonna be.
But yeah, after a year of playing a bad Call of Duty game, I was just done with the series at that point. I didn't want any more of the upcoming games or anything.
I know it's like Snick and Brand tried to join his team, they couldn't. Mario Snick tried to join Brand's team, he couldn't, and they tried to join Brand's team, they couldn't.
Oh yeah, it didn't help.
Essentially what happened was if I was the host or Mario was the host, nobody could join. Only Brandon being the host was able to at least get me in, but Mario couldn't join. And
the worst part about it... Oh, and by the way, Brandon's another member in this podcast that's currently gone. But the worst part about having Brandon being the only host is that he also has the worst internet for gaming. So, pretty much, playing the game was horrendous. It was, like, for me, I felt it was pretty much unplayable to even do much of anything.
Oh, that's right! Essentially, what worked with that is that only one of us could be in a room with him at the time. It was either if I joined first, Mario couldn't join, or if Mario joined first, I couldn't join.
Oh, man.
And you know what ultimately happened was Mario decided he was going to stream the original Black Ops instead, and part of what led to a big freak out on his part was that he couldn't find out how to connect it to the Elgato. It wouldn't work for some reason, and retrospectively, I think I know what that reason was. You need to use a special cable to get the PS3 to connect to the Elgato.
Yeah, you need a bit of a splitter. I've actually run...
either that or you need to use a splitter.
Well, it's really weird though, because I could have sworn that I actually streamed on my PS3 before without said splitter. I could have sworn that I've done some kind of setup where it was, well, I couldn't say for sure whether or not it was straight up HDMI all the way in and out, but I did somehow manage to, using some guide, and, well, because of my huge frustration or anger, more or less, with Black Ops 3 that night, of course, I got even more pissed off that same night, all because I couldn't even figure out what I was supposed to do. Granted, it was the second time I was trying to stream on the thing, but I know for a fact I did it before, without splitters, so I don't know what I was doing wrong, and honestly, it's just a thing of past now.
So, Snick, what's the story of your hated game?
What hated game?
What? No. What game do you hate?
A game that's good that...
Hey, we were talking about Black Ops 3, a game I hate, Birth by Sleep, because of the reasons why I hate it. Talking about reasons why he hates Black Ops 3. Do you still... Is it Shrek that you hate, or some different game?
Well, I don't want to talk... Is there... No, I want to talk about a good game that... A game that people think is good that I just think is bad.
What you got?
And I can't think of one. I mean, I can mention the Elder Scrolls, but I don't think that game is bad. But I just can't get used to it.
You mentioned that you played the Persona series. Can I give you an extra bonus one then?
Yeah.
I, as someone who picked up Persona 2 in the late 90s, cannot stand Persona 3. I cannot stand it. And I have to ask the question, did you play Persona 2?
I did play Persona 2, but not until after getting Persona 3.
Okay. Did you notice the difference in tone and approach between the two?
I will say this, when it comes to the 3 modern Persona games, 3, 4, and 5, even though I thought 4 was actually really funny at first, like there were a lot of funny scenes, in retrospect, I actually really do not like 4's very lighthearted tone compared to 3 and 5.
Right. My big thing was 2 and the original Persona spent so much time talking about how the characters have a depth to them, and you essentially watch these people deal with their lives' issues, and that's manifested in the fact that they can all change their persona. These are the masks that they wear to deal with their problems. And then they turn around in 3 and they're like, nah, main character special, you can switch them. No. You're just literally saying that the rest of your characters are one-dimensional notes by going that path.
It's funny because it seemed you get to explore the characters through social links, but if I remember correctly, the PS2 versions of 3 didn't even give you social links with your party members, but then the PSP version fixed that by adding them in.
Right. But my big thing was 2 didn't even have social links at all. What happened instead was all of the characters, their life issues, were integral to the plot. Like, the entirety of the plot was like, this is a problem that's happening in the entirety of the world. Side note, all of you are going to fix it because you all have a stake in this. And it wasn't just, there's an ominous doomsday coming, or there's a murder in the TV. It was everything's gone wrong. And you all
have played 5?
I have.
So, would you say that 5 kind of returns to the first 2?
It did. In fact, actually, I was very, very happy. The second.
I mean, 5 had a lot of callbacks to the original games, including the first game's system having both a sword and a gun.
It had that callback. It had the communication, the talking to the demons and everything, was something from 1 and 2, because that's how you got other personas.
Yeah. It was. It's like funny. 5 combined the best of like the first 2 games in 3 and 4.
I would say that 5 has, depending if you let me count both halves of 2 as one game. 5 had
it's funny because if you played 2 back in the day, if you played 2, what were you saying?
I was saying, depending on whether you let me count 2 as one game or the 2 halves as separate games, I say 5 either has the second or third best story, because the story for 2 is amazing. Like, when you get the whole story wrapped together, it's amazing.
I mean, I still have to play through 2 because because it's really funny because you said you played 2 back in the day, but only the second half of.
Yep.
Yeah, only the second half of 2, Eternal Punishment, got localized to the States. The Innocent Sin, the first part, never did until they remade it for the PSP.
Right.
And then, ironically, the PSP remake of Eternal Punishment didn't come out in the States, so instead they had to substitute it with the PS1 version.
Yeah, I actually, like I said, go ahead, Violence.
Yeah, like some games get better as they go on. To get better and better. Other games just either plateau or just get worse and worse. It's like they keep making sequels. Like they're like, why are we?
Persona was they rounded out so much of the system because the first game has a pretty good story, but the mechanics, like to the combat, were super rough. And then the second game, yeah, it did not have the best combat mechanics, but the story's amazing. The third one, I felt like they found the balance for the combat to make it flow nicely, but they lost so much of the charm on the way, at least in my opinion. But to what you were saying, I actually recently went ahead and streamed both halves of Persona, because I say that I stream horror, and everyone was like, I played Persona 5, Persona 5's not horror. I'm like, oh, okay, come with me. Let me show you why. When everyone was like, Joker's the hero, I'm like, oh, is he? Do you know where that name comes from in the Persona universe? Because let me introduce you to the first character that you're supposed to talk to in this game, just being a corpse that's murdered on the ground by someone who's wearing a bag on their head calling themselves the Joker. And it was one of those things that people were like, oh, we missed something big, didn't we? So
actually, getting back to like that, Vandalia brings up how either games get worse as sequels come out, or eventually they find ways to improve themselves over. Getting back to the Resident Evil series, what'd you think of Resident Evil 7?
I absolutely enjoyed it. I think that despite the fact that they kind of shoehorned in a tie-in to the main universe at the very end, the way that they went about presenting everything. By the way, I will straight up say, when I hit affiliate, I went ahead and borrowed a friend's PlayStation VR, replayed through the entire game in VR for my stream, and did the No More Heroes and End of Zoe DLC in VR. If you have the option to play those 2 bonus DLCs at the end in VR, totally worth it. So much more was put in to integrate them to VR than the main game, and it flows really well. That said, aside, despite the shoehorn in at the end to make it fit the universe, I'm not going to spoil what that was.
Well, I know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm talking for anybody else. They found a way to make a game that had the tension of the earlier games while still going ahead and giving you some nuance of control, because that's really the difference, in my opinion, from the earlier Resident Evils to like 4 and 5 and 6. After 3, at no point in time did I ever truly feel threatened. Like, even with the chainsaw wielders in 4, or the big Majini in 5, I never really felt threatened. Even the Urgonox, or whatever his name was in Jake's campaign in 6, never really got that sense like, I'm gonna get messed up. But, like, Nemesis was the real last time, because before that, when had we ever dealt with somebody who's gonna sometimes kick in a wall, and sometimes not? Like, that was revolutionary when that came out. I still remember the first time that I'm going through the Raccoon City Police Department. I'm like, alright, I'll be fine. And then he just kicks through the wall, and I'm just like, no, I'm not fine. I'm not fine at all. And then he kills me. And then I come back around that corner, and I've got the grenade launcher ready, and I'm good to go. And he doesn't kick on the wall, and I'm like, what? He's okay, I'll move forward. And then he kicks in a different wall. It's like, come on.
Hey, can I interrupt you for a second?
By all means.
When you said Raccoon City, you reminded me of this one time where I was heading to school early in the morning. I see this car that looks like a cop car, but legit on the back, it straight up said Raccoon City. I'm like, Excuse me? I fucking took a picture of it, and now I need to look for it.
Where were you living at the time?
Well, actually, it was like, I think last year, but it's in Phoenix, which is where I am now.
Okay.
It was like early in the morning, but
if it was in
amazing.
Colorado, you would have been, like, didn't they say that the city in the series was like located somewhere in the Midwestern U.S.?
Yes.
So if he was still in Colorado, it would have made a lot
It
more
would have been
sense.
like, somebody's doing some real bad marketing by not telling people that that's happening.
But it was freaking amazing.
The fact that you were in one of the major cities, though, if it was early last year, they were doing a bunch of escape room tours to promote the game. It might have actually been one of the props that they were using, like being brought to or from a location.
Wow.
Because there was a big push for RE7 escape rooms, and then in a weird chance there was a big push for Final Fantasy XIV ones.
I gotta get my old phone. I think it's in an SD card.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed 7. I enjoyed
would you say the fakers, like, fulfill, like, the crazy
Yes,
thing?
they have that unhinged to them, and I liked that later on they tried to show that they weren't always unhinged and that there was a change, and I really appreciate that.
Especially, it's especially explored in one of the DLCs.
Yep. Absolutely. But that's what I was saying earlier with, like, the unhinged aspect of the villains in the Resident Evil series. When they have that oddness to them, that they could be normal but something's not right, it harkens back to, like, the older days of horror movies where they didn't have just tons of CGI, where everything was about atmosphere. And that's one of the things that I felt was missing from, like, The Evil Within. Like, yeah, The Evil Within hit all the check boxes of what you would want from a Resident Evil, but the atmosphere was missing. Like, oh, here's our version of Pinhead, essentially, or Pyramid Head. And, yeah, okay, it's a big, imposing, scary guy that has a really big weapon, but he has nothing to make me feel unhinged. Nothing feels off. He just feels like a big bad that you threw at me.
Can't find the picture right now. I gotta go look for it later. But yeah,
so-
it was amazing though.
Before we wrap this up, Stick, so is that the game you don't like? Or do you think of one?
I can't think of
So
any.
you don't. So you don't like? I thought the game you didn't like was Shrek.
Well,
Terminator.
Shrek is a bad game that everyone hates.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I might play it tonight
So
on stream.
Right.
So is it? You have any daily onions for tonight?
Well, keep in mind that it's been 2 hours and 17 minutes, so we're over
I know,
the limit.
that's why I'm trying to wrap this up to see if he has any onions or not.
Yeah, if I have any extra onions, please. Well, actually, I will say, I do have a game that would fit the bill. The GTA 3 era games. All GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. Everyone keeps claiming how GTA 4 was such a step back for the series, like how, oh, they took away so much stuff from San Andreas, wah wah, wah wah. Ironically, GTA 4 is probably my favorite game in the series, and probably one of my favorite games in general. Because I don't know, there's just something about moving through GTA 4's rendition of Liberty City that makes it just feel alive.
Right.
Like, it's like you're actually walking through, like, a New York City style thing. Like, GTA 5 ended up getting rid of that and kind of going back to what the GTA 3 era games did.
Yeah. See that.
But the thing is, my problem with the GTA 3 era games is just, I just do not think they aged well.
like, making those big open worlds back then was obviously groundbreaking for their time, but that's why GTA 4 and even GTA 5 in a way built upon it.
That's fair.
But to me, like, the shooting mechanics and the combat mechanics in general are incredibly clunky and kind of outdated, especially in 3 and Vice City. They kind of fix it in the PC version since they have free aim, and San Andreas across the board fixed it a little bit as well.
It's up until sorry.
But another thing that was kind of a killer for me is that the difficulty was completely unforgiving in some missions. like some missions, it was very easy to go through split-second deaths and failures, and not to mention, they make it to where if you die or you get arrested, you basically just lose everything, all the weapons you collected, all the equipment you got. 4 and 5 downgraded to where you only lose your stuff if you're arrested.
Right.
Like, if you die, you still keep all your stuff, and you just lose money.
Right.
So, I mean, San Andreas had, like, a special ability to where you could keep your crap if you had, like, a certain girlfriend.
I think so, yeah.
But even then, like, I don't know, part of me also liked the convenience of 4. Like, anytime you failed a mission in 4, you would get a text message that would automatically let you retry the mission.
Right.
If you clicked on it, whereas in San Andreas and before, you would have to work your way back to wherever it was you failed the mission at. And, in fact, everything would do such a huge blow to your stats that you were oftentimes just better off reloading the game as opposed to just trying to recover everything naturally. And of course, some people liked it that way. Well, not me.
Yeah. Speaking of, sorry.
Well, I also wanted to say, kind of on the reverse, I am also very, very forgiving of some bad games.
I love Alpha Protocol, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I kind of liked Alpha Protocol when I briefly played the PC version when Steam gave that away for free.
Yeah, it's a good story. It's just really badly set up. Like,
yeah, well,
gameplay-wise.
I didn't play it that far, but I might have to reinstall it because my PC ran it surprisingly well. But it's funny. For instance, one HD collection everybody shits on is the Silent Hill HD collection.
Okay.
Yeah. Thing is, I played through Silent Hill 2 all the way through. Maybe it was because I was playing the patched version on the PS3. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, if you were playing the patched version, that was a different story. When it was released to us, it was...
Yeah, I know it was... I know it had a lot of bad glitches and whatnot when it was released, when the PS3 version got a patch.
Yep.
I didn't play through Silent Hill 3 yet, but...
Okay.
Well, I played through some of it, but I didn't beat it. But yeah, I thought the game was perfectly serviceable. Like, especially since the originals are kind of hard to come by nowadays, but everyone keeps harping on... I mean, everyone likes... There's some people that like attention to detail, but... I thought for people who just want a budget way to experience the games, it's fine. Like, just don't get it on the 360 because they never fixed it on there.
No, they did not.
Yeah.
I mean, I owned the original Silent Hill 2 and 3 and 4, so...
I have Silent Hill 4 on the original Xbox.
Okay.
Because the PS2 version's pretty hard to find.
Yeah, I picked them up when they came out because I was huge into Silent Hill.
Yeah. I didn't really get into the Silent Hill games until kind of recently.
Gotcha.
But I do actually own all the mainline entries now. Like, I have the first one on PSN. I got Origins on the PSP, but then I couldn't actively play it on my Vita, so I ended up tracking down a PS2 copy.
Gotcha.
And then I have Homecoming and Downpour on the 360.
Gotcha.
And then there's other examples, actually. Like, everyone harps on how Sonic 06 is one of the worst games ever made.
I actually bought it out of curiosity because I know Brandon was going to do a Let's Play on it because of how bad it is. I played quite a bit of it myself. It's bad. But I honestly think it's far from the worst game ever made.
Fair enough.
There were actually, when I was actively playing it, maybe it's because I didn't get far enough into the game where more of the bullshit comes up, but there was not a point where I wanted to put it down.
Did you get to the silver boss fight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's because I knew what to do, but I beat him after 2 tries.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
The only reason I died the first time was because I couldn't, because either I was being an idiot or I couldn't figure it out. But yeah, after enduring games like Shrek, Terminator 3, The Redemption, which some people claim is a good game, I honestly think it is really bad.
Oh, it's not
one of the worst games I've ever played, probably. Only
in fact,
because
actually, you even did a 2-part review on it, if I'm correct.
I did a 2-part review on it. I think some of it, I don't know if a lot of it's that good, but but the only way to fully describe what's wrong with it is probably to do a live stream on it, an endurance test, if you will. Let's just say it is such a ridiculously difficult game that not even turning on an invincibility code will help you most of the time.
That's no fun.
Yeah, but trying to think of other bad games. Well, Duke Nukem Forever and Aliens Colonial Marines I thought were... Well, Duke Nukem Forever I actually outright enjoyed on PC. Colonial Marines, maybe it's because once again they fixed it, but I actually thought it wasn't that bad because everyone was complaining about how it was too damn easy. And now I'm like, really? When I played it through on normal difficulty, the aliens were killing me in only a few hits, and they certainly were not dumb.
But anyways,
but yeah, in some cases, there's just some bad games I gave a try, and it was like, these aren't that bad. Not the best thing ever, but it's kind of worth it.
I hear you.
Yeah. But wrapping this up, back to real fast. Back to open world stuff. It's funny, the open world issue in Breath of the Wild was what some people hated and loved about the game. Some people hated the open world, other people loved the open world.
Even though technically the very first Legend of Zelda game was, to its standards, it would be open world. I mean, it's an open world-esque game, but it's limited because of its limited hardware at the time. But you would technically call it an open world game anyways. Just like Metroid.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just funny, some people hated it, some people loved that fact. But anyways, wrapping this up. So, what have we learned today? We've learned that Discord hates MarioTube's computer now. Or hates his OBS. We learned that education has changed in the 20 years since me and Magnus have been in school to the time of Snick and MarioTube.
Mm.
We learned that Jesse is quiet.
And
podcast.
even left. Well, someone kicked them out.
We've learned that some bathrooms, even nowadays, have weird plumbing. We've learned that the days of school shootings have changed schools since our days, and we've learned that even somebody in greatest armor can be a noob.
Indeed.
in PvP gaming, and we learned that we've learned that we have different opinions about different games. All right. Well, thank you to our guest today. Hopefully, you can make an appearance again in the future. It was fun having you here.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You'll definitely see me, Snick, and MarioTube, and maybe a different guest on Tuesday, as we get closer and closer to MarioTube's actual graduation ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I always say, never stop learning and enjoy the randomness. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye bye.
Later.
Bye bye.